Hello everyone, welcome to another tutorial here. I had a request from one of my students how to record a pixel art animation in After Effects. Very similar to normal animating in After Effects, but just with a couple of wee key tweaks and differences. So we're going to go through that now. If we switch over to After Effects, you're going to see that I have already pre-prepared a wee scene here. This is our little character we're going to animate. He's just a very simple little sprite character I whipped up in a couple of hours today. This guy has a run animation, an idle, a jump, and a fall. When you're making your own animations, you'll obviously need whatever you need yourself for your own animation. But the same principles will apply no matter what type of animations or what frames you're using. So I have pre-made this little scene here. Nothing special at all, just using a couple of solid layers and a shape layer here, a couple of rectangles in it, just to give me a very simple background, and a couple of little platforms that our little guy is actually going to animate over and jump over. So we're going to be replicating that kind of 2D platformer game, left to right, running and jumping motion. So with the background created, what I want to do first of all, I just want to tidy these up a little bit. We've got 4 layers here. Our timeline's going to get quite busy with all these other layers. So the first thing I want to do is take all 4 of these. I'm just going to shift click the bottom one, then shift click the top, and that'll select all 4 of them. I want to right click and I want to go down to pre-compose. So just that little option there, pre-compose, gives us this little window, and I'm going to call this my background. So if you're not familiar with, I just hit OK there. If you're not familiar with pre-composing, basically After Effects is comprised of compositions, and those compositions can be nested within other compositions. So in our main scene here, we now have just one option called background. We look at this little icon, it looks at a wee film cell. If we double click that, that will open up another composition here. So we've got scene, which has background in it. Then we open up background itself, which has all those layers. They're still all there. But we are not going to need to really worry about the background now. We're just going to leave it sitting as is, and we're going to work in this scene view. So now we want to animate our little guy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all 6 of these little frames of animation for my little character dude, and I'm going to drag them into my main scene, and you'll see them added to the timeline below. But first problem, they are very small because they are done at literally the size they were animated at. I composed these little guys using a software called Piskel, Piskel, just a little free online browser-based pixel art program. And I made them at 32 by 32 resolution, which means on this HD screen, they are literally only 32 pixels tall, which is very small. So with all of these guys selected down below, I'm just going to hit the S key on my keyboard, and that'll bring us up scale, just the scale property. Now with all of these selected, what's going to happen is I'm just going to change one, and that will apply to all of them. And also notice this little chain link icon beside each one here, constrain proportions. What this means is if I change the X direction, it's also going to change the Y direction by the same amount. So I'm just going to click, I want to make these quite big, 600%, and I just hit enter, and you will see that it changes everything else to 600% width and height. Happy days. Now we can see this little guy a lot clearer, but we do have one issue here. He is very blurry. That's no good. How do we make this guy look like sharp pixel art again? There is a very easy way. I'm just going to collapse these all up. All I have to do with them all selected, click on that little downward arrow, pop, and they're all up. So, as I was saying, there is a very easy way to turn this back into pixel art. It's not called what you would think. It's not called anything too intuitive. But all we have to do is right click on this here, scroll up in the menu to where it says quality, and then go to draft. And now we suddenly have nice sharp pixels. Why it's located in there in the quality and called draft, again, it's not intuitive at all, but we'll just have to work with it. Now, when making these in Piskel, I actually made sure these lined up all correctly so that the bottom left of the grid of each one is all lining up nicely. For you guys, you might need to put a little bit of work into that. Make sure they all line up so that his feet aren't sliding along the floor or anything like that. But they should, if you make them all correctly in your sprite program, make sure they all line up on top of each other. So I don't actually want to animate this guy himself. What I'm going to do is create a little null object. I'm going to layer new null object. And if you've never used a null object before, it's just this little red square here. It doesn't contain any graphics or contain anything at all. It just has transform properties, move, scale, rotate, etc. And we can use it as a controller object for moving all our wee sprites here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this and just drag it down onto the floor where he will be walking. Actually, no, better idea. These guys are already here, so I will just move the null object right up there. And I'm going to move this up to this very, very bottom corner so that I know when I animate my character, I'm going to have this little anchor point. The anchor point is in the top left. I'm going to have this anchor point always touching the surface of the ground he's going to be running on. And I know that if I place that here, that will correspond with his ankles, or his heels rather. So what I need to do is parent a lot of this up to that null object. I'm just going to right click on that null object. So like rename and call it character controller. And let me just check I'm actually recording this, because it would be just like me that I'm not, and we're all good. Also, just save our file here. I swear to God, I am jinxed. I recorded this entire tutorial and my laptop battery died. Even though it was plugged in, I didn't realize the switch was off, so I lost it all. So I'm being extra careful. Make sure you guys are careful too. Save every 10 minutes. Okay, where were we? Character controller. Yes, I want to parent a lot of these guys up to my character controller. So, but there's a little bit more I have to do with my run frames, but we'll get to that shortly. I want to parent with this little swirl icon. Just click and drag from my fall up to character controller, from my idle up to character controller, and from jump up to character controller. I haven't actually shown you what these guys look like, so let me just show you. My little fall sprite, this is when he jumps through the air and is then flying back down. This will be the fall that's played. Below that we have our idle. I'll just swap these round and keep them kind of together. So jump and fall are together. There is our jump. So when he jumps in the air, his legs fall out behind him, his hand goes up. When he falls, he kind of cramps up a bit. His idle animation is just standing there like that. And then we have 3 frames for the run. Now you'll notice I haven't paired up the run yet. We have to do a little bit of extra work with this. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to activate all 3 of these here so we can see them. I'm going to select all of these, and I'm going to pre-compose these into their own composition as well. These technically don't count as animations. They're just single frames. The jump, the fall, the idle, they're just single frames. But if we have something like a run cycle that is actually going to be something repeating over and over again, left foot, right foot, etc., what we do is we want to pre-compose this into its own composition. So I'm going to select those 3 frames. I'm going to right click and pre-compose. And I'm going to call this pre-compose. And I'll just save the naming conventions that I'm already using. So left bracket, run, right bracket. That'll do lovely. And that gives me a wee composition here. So I'm going to double click on this one. And I need to just do a little bit of work to set up this run animation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all 3 of these. Currently, this composition is set to be the same length as my main composition, which is 10 seconds. My whole run is only going to take about a second overall. So I'm going to bring this down to about 1/3 of a second, maybe about 1/4 of a second. So about 6 frames for each of these. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sequence these out one after the other, like so. And I want to start them off. It's very important the order we go here. If you've never done a walk cycle before, there's a little bit of thought needs to go into it. So when we do our walk cycle, we want to go left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, but we also have that little middle frame in between. So we're going to go left foot, then middle, then right foot, then middle. So we're going to swap the order around here a wee bit. So run number 2 should be the start. We're going to start off our guy with his, in this case, right foot forward. Then he's going to come back to his neutral middle position. And then it's going to be right foot back. But then what we have to do is add a 4th frame here. That little middle piece, we want to see that again. So I'm going to hit Control C, Control V, just to get another copy of that run number 1. I'm going to bring it to the bottom here, just keep it in sequence, and bring it to the end. So what this means is we have right foot, middle, left foot, middle. And that will repeat over and over again. Right, middle, left, middle. Right, middle, left, middle. Right, middle, left, middle. It will repeat over and over again for our run cycle. Now what we want to do is just zoom all the way out. We're going to grab our little controller handle here, this little blue tab for our work area. We're going to bring it in and shrink that way down just until it gets to the end of that composition. There we go. And now if we hit spacebar, we can preview this. So there's our little run animation. You can see his arms swinging back and forth and so forth. That is a wee bit slow. Nah, do you know what? The timing's fine. We can fine tune it. We could fine tune it all night if we wanted to, but we'll keep this video nice and short. That will do grand just to get the process away to show you what we have to do. So that is our little run animation there. We could shrink this composition down, but we'll just leave it for now. It's going to line up correctly. It's going to be grand. And now that we've done that, we can finally parent this one up to our character controller. So everything is hunky-dory, everything is happy days. What do we want to do now? Here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to leave my idle animation on because it's the most kind of neutral one of them all. And I am going to bring you down just to the very left of the screen. Now notice I'm grabbing the character controller. I'm trying not to touch any of these actual character sprites anymore. Not for now, but I want to use the character controller. I'm going to start you down here at the left of the screen. And now I'm going to work on the animation I want to do. Once more, I'm going to hit File and Save, just to be careful. And I'm going to open up my transform properties and my position properties here. And at the start, or just beyond the start of my composition, I'm going to keyframe position. So from here, I'm going to make him walk on a little bit further, or just come later in the timeline and make him walk over. Now my timing, I will work on the timing later, but the important thing is I want him to walk horizontally, make sure that that keyframe is right on the surface of the ground. Then I'm going to come forward a little bit more, and I will move him up onto this surface. He's going to jump up here, and just eyeball it, make sure he's on that surface. Now what we need to do is we need to fix these keyframes. What this does, it creates a motion path. And that pass is a nice smooth curve all through it, but we don't necessarily want to have a smooth curve. So we're going to have to move what's called the Bezier handles for this curve. Now each keyframe, you'll see these little squares here, and each of these squares relates to these keyframes down below. So if I click this leftmost keyframe here, this one will be highlighted. If I click this middle one, suddenly this one turns blue, and so on and so forth. So we want to control this curve over the time of these keyframes. And we can do that. So our keyframe is this little square box, and our control handles for the curve of this animation are these two little circles here. So if I grab one of these circles, you'll see that it's got a straight line running between them and the keyframe itself, and it helps bend the curve of the motion. So if I just do this, for example, and we come back through our animation, you'll see that he follows that curve. And he's a bit floaty, and he follows it nicely. But we don't want that. We want him to stay on the surface of the ground and then spring up. So what we want to do is, as you can see, if we grab these handles, they're both going in tandem with each other. We only want to move one side at a time and make them go in different directions. How we do that? We hold the Alt key and then click on one of these handles, and that breaks that straight line between them. So I can now move them independently of each other. So we just want to move this one here so that it's a straight line between keyframe A and keyframe B when he's running on the ground. And now that I've broke that, I don't need to hold the Alt key anymore. I can just grab this other handle. I'm going to make this into a nice bounce up into the air. Just drag it up like so. And same thing on the other side. I'm going to drag this so he's bouncing nicely over here. So we'll move forward a wee bit more. Let me zoom out to see my whole scene. What am I going to do? I'm going to make him move over here and then jump up, run over, and then turn back to the left. So he's jumped. We will move him across now. Just eyeball it so that he's not floating in midair. You can see he's just hovering a wee bit there. Just get in close and eyeball it. Then we will go and fix our little curves again. Now for this one, we've still got a straight line, so hold the Alt key again to break these. Straighten it out, perfect. And then we will move him, oh no, we'll move it later in the timeline. And we'll make him jump up. And land here. And now, instead of a curve, it's actually going straight. Why are you doing that? We need to get those handles out. So we'll Alt click on you. No, we won't, that won't work. Whoops, move you out of the way there so you're not in the way. Control click, is that the one I want? Nope, control click is not what I want. Shift click. Give me my control handles. Where are my control handles? No, don't do that either. Ah. Don't need you. How does one get one's control handles? Let me see. Bear with me. No point in you watching this. I'm going to pause for it. And we are back. Sorry about that. I couldn't remember off the top of my head the control to bring back the control handles here. I keep getting them confused with Photoshop because they're different between the two of them. You think they'd be the same, but they're different. So anyway, we've got a sharp corner here between this little run of the animation and this little run. And we can't find our control handles to give us those nice curves. So what we have to do is hold the Control and Alt key, and that's going to change your cursor to this little V shape. And when we click and drag that, that will bring our two handles out. So we'll just try and keep them horizontal so that this one on the left is correct. And once we've got those control handles out, we just hold Alt again to break that straight line and create our little bounce curve. And we'll have to do the same thing on this top one actually. We'll move the animation forward here just so we can see where this guy's at. So Control Alt, actually no, we won't do that, so we're going to move him away from there. So he's not just blocking up our view. And we hold the Control Alt key again to bring out those control handles. And I will bring this one up nice and high so we get a nice wee bounce. Now again, I'm probably going to have to go back and fine tune this as I go because the timing's not going to be right. I haven't really thought at all about the timing between these keyframes. I'll have to drag them back and forth and so on. But we'll go forward a little bit. He lands here. And then we will make him run just over a little bit. And that'll do lovely. And we will hold Alt click just to straighten up that curve again there. Very, very fiddly with these curves. If you're watching this and you've never seen it before, you're thinking, why the hell do these curves keep annoying us? It will make sense once you get used to it, the way these control handles work. Let me see, last thing we want to do then. I'm happy enough with that for the animation. He jumps twice. Last wee thing I want to do, just if you're not familiar with it, I'm going to move it forward a wee bit. Actually, I'll leave him there. What I want to do is I want to keyframe him so that he turns left. Now, how do we make something turn the other way? It's actually using the scale property. So I want to also keyframe my scale here. And I want to leave that at 100%, 100%. Watch what happens. First of all, I'm going to deactivate this little chain link So earlier on we said that we have this chain link. If I change the X value, it will change the Y value accordingly. So if I just click on that, it will unlink it. So watch what happens if I change this to -100. He flips to the left. Now you'll notice that he flips on this pivot point here. So with a bit of forethought, it probably would have been better to have this anchor point right kind of in the middle of the center of gravity, so that when he flips round, he doesn't do that. But we will not worry about that, just to show you how this actually works. So we'll set him back to 100 to begin with, and then we're just going to come literally one frame ahead and change that to -100, and that will flip him left, and he'll stay there for the duration. So up until this point, his scale will be constantly 100, 100. That's the default that it is, and then we're going to just set our keyframe here at the end, and then one keyframe later we will set it to -100 in the X direction. If I do it -100 in the Y direction, it'll flip vertically. There we go, but we don't want to do that. But that is how scale works in After Effects. Negative numbers, flip it round the other way and flip it backwards. So that's okay, that's our scale. That is as much as I want to animate here. So I've got my little animation. Let me play through this. The timing is going to be shockingly bad. He's jumping very slow, he's running, he's jumping. The timing can be better. Let me see. What do I want to do? I can make that jump a wee bit springier by bringing this keyframe forward a wee bit, and then he'll jump a wee bit faster. Spring. And that run is very, very slow. So I will bring that in a little bit so that he is just running that wee bit of distance a lot faster. And obviously now this jump needs to be a lot faster as well. And these need to be brought in. So let me see, standing still, he's moving, not very fast, he's jumping, he's running a lot faster there. Yeah, what we'll do is we'll just make that initial wee run just a wee bit shorter. Well, that'll do lovely. Okay, so that is my animation. Timing's not perfect. I could fiddle with this for edges and edges, and you will have to do some fiddling, but I'm aware that the video is now running on to 22 minutes. And we don't want this to last too much longer before you just fall asleep on me. So let me see. The last thing we really want to do now, we're going to save again, because we want to save often. Happy days. Last thing we want to do now is actually get those animation frames in, so that he's idle, he's running, he's doing whatever he needs. And how we're going to do that is whenever he's moving, we are effectively just going to make the rest of them invisible and only have one visible at any one time. So here's what we want to do. We want to turn all of these guys on, and I'm going to collapse up my character controller. I've worked on my position and scale, so we're done with that now. I'm going to select jump, fall, idle, and run. I'm going to press the letter T on my keyboard, so T for Tommy. And what this does is bring up the opacity. You would think about the letter O, but I think that's used for something else. So it says T for opacity. Press T on your keyboard. With all these selected, we'll see the opacity property now. What we want to do, we want to come right to the very, very start. I want to keyframe all of these. Whoops. Yeah, with them all selected, we just click one and that'll do all of them. We want to bring the opacity of all of them down to 0. And then I'm just going to take my idle. I can deselect everything now. I just want to take my idle and bring you up to 100. Now, what I will actually do, I'm just going to open this character controller again, and I'm going to lift up the transform just so that I can see little dots here representing my different parts of the animation. So this will be when he first starts to move, and then he starts to run, and so on and so forth. So what I want to do is I'll maybe just zoom in here as well so we can see a bit closer, or get closer to the frames. I want to have this guy standing idle until we get to this point. I'm going to add a keyframe in there. This little one, again, adds a keyframe with the exact same properties of whatever this guy is doing at this moment. So his opacity is 100% and then 100%. And then I want to come one frame forward and just move that down to 0%. So what's going to happen is he's standing there idle and then he suddenly turns invisible. Now, that's a bit weird, but what we're going to do now, go back to that keyframe and now go to our run and turn this one up to 100. And I've just realized there's something else that we have to do here with this. If we go back into our run, we have this guy, he's running for 1 second. But we've only got one loop of this run. So what I actually want to do is I want to right click on this and go trim comp to work area. So that this entire composition is only 1 second long. It's only one loop of that animation. Now the problem is if we go back to scene, you see there that shrink this down so that we run. Oops, let me see. Here's another little thing we need to do. At the start he is 0 and now he is 100%. So he's kind of fading into view. You'll see a little bit of the opacity of him there. He's fading into view. What we want to do is we don't want this to go from 0 to 100 because you can see there that it's actually raising over time. We want it to be 0 and then instantly 100. And we've done that here, having a keyframe at 100 and a keyframe at 0, just literally the next frame. But there is another way. If we right click, go toggle hold keyframe, what will happen is we want this one. Right click on this one, toggle hold keyframe, and that will keep him at 0. That will keep this value constant until we reach this next one. And there the run appears, and a bit of space, he's starting to move. You'll just see there he's starting to move, and we see the run animation play, but then it runs out. It runs out and he's invisible again. So how do we fix this? What we need to do is we need to make this animation loop. And there's a couple of ways of doing this, but a very, very simple way is just go to our run here, right click. No, it's not there. Where am I wanting to go? No, is it down here? Right click. Time, no. Frame limit, no. No. I can't remember. My mind's gone blank. Where do I want to go? Give me a second. I need to consult the Google. Okay, well, I'm back. Sorry, I paused there. I just wanted to double check something. I had thought there was a simple little method here for looping. It works for footage, but it does not work for compositions. So unfortunately, we're going to have to try a slightly more complicated method in order to make our little run animation loop here. So what we want to do is we want to right click on our run layer. We want to go to time and click enable time remapping. And what this does is it stretches it out for the length of the composition. But that doesn't give our loop just yet. We need to do a little bit more just to get this to work. What I want you to do is when we add that time remap, you're going to see it's going to add two little keyframes here. It's going to add a time remap option in our properties and add two keyframes to that. This will be the initial start and end of that animation. So what I want you to do is hold the Alt key and click on this blue stopwatch. Very important you hold the Alt key. Do not click it just on its own. You have to Alt click this little stopwatch, and that will give you the expression controls, which is basically a little mini script editor here. What I want you to type in is LOOP, capital O, UT, and then a set of brackets. So we're typing loop out brackets. And what this is going to do is loop our animation now. So if we let this play on, and it has just decided to freeze here, you'll see that he's going to stay visible forever now, and it's going to loop that animation. So that is perfect. Again, our timing is still not great on that initial composition, but we now have him looped. There we go, he's starting to play a bit faster now. Yeah, we definitely need to speed up that run composition itself, but we can get back to it, we can fix it later on when we need to. So okay, that's our time remap. We've got him looping now, that's all we had to do. Now we just want to work on the opacity. So he's going to run from this point up until he gets to here, and then he's going to start jumping. So basically at this point we want to repeat this process over again. We want to add a keyframe here. We want to set this to 0, and we want to right click, toggle hold keyframe. Oops, right click, it was already on, toggle hold keyframe. And you'll notice it just this kind of little keyframe just with a left arrow on it. That's what we want. We also need to then go to our next frame, and at this point we want to be jumping in the air. So we're going to take our jump, and we're going to add a keyframe here, and we're going to turn this up to 100% opacity. Now again, we're going to see that that will sort of fade in the existence. It fades in and out unless we right click, toggle hold keyframe, and we'll do the same for the first one, right click, toggle hold keyframe. So now he is jumping in the air. We're going to watch until he gets to the crest of that jump, and just when he's coming down again, we're going to add a keyframe here and set him to 0. Now we'll turn on our fall. We'll add a little keyframe here, set him to 100. Make this a hold keyframe. Make this a hold keyframe. Just be right click, toggle hold keyframe. We let him come to the ground. Just that first frame where our character controller hits the ground will be enough. We'll go one frame later actually, and then set that to 0. And is he fading in? Nope, our hold keyframe is working. We want to come back to our run. We're going to add another keyframe in here. Set this to 100. So now if we play this, he's falling through the air, hit the ground, and it'll start running again. And just again, when we see that character controller start to leave the ground, just this final frame, we want to set you down to 0 again. So let me just check these hold keyframes are working. Yes, they are fine. We go back to our jump, which is here. Add a keyframe, 100% him. I'll just make sure that he is going okay. Up it goes, 100%. Crest of the jump. Maybe just go to it here this time. Keyframe you in. Turn you to 0. Where is our fall? Our fall. We add a keyframe and turn it to 100. When it comes down, it hits the ground. Just when the keyframe. So this one, the fall, because he's got his legs tucked up, they're not quite touching the ground just yet, but that's okay. We just have to turn his opacity to 0. It's very confusing. I'm trying to work out in my head what's happening. There's a lot of kind of mental gymnastics going on. When does one go 100? When does one go 0, etc. But you will get it. You'll figure it out. It's not rocket science. We just add a keyframe, turn you to 0. Down in our run, add a keyframe, turn him to 100. Make him run across the way. And now at this point he stops. So we go 0 and we turn our idle back on to 100%. Now our idle currently does not have any toggle hold keyframes on it. You can see all the rest of them have these big square keyframes for the hold. Our idle ones never had that. That was the one where we originally done it the other way with two frames beside each other at 100 and 0. So what we'll do is we just take this one here, toggle hold keyframe, and just for extra security, we'll toggle hold keyframe on you. There we go. And his idle pose, and then at the end he's doing this little flip around. It's not ideal. What I could do is here, I'll maybe just save project. Yep, guys, save project. There we go. I'll maybe just add another little frame to the transform here, just in his position. And because I want this one to stay where he is, we toggle hold keyframe, and then here I'm going to add another keyframe, and I'm going to cheat this a little bit. This is an absolute cheat. I'm just going to move him over the actual character controller, move it over, so he looks like he's just turning and staying in the same place. Again, that's my bad for not having his anchor point kind of in the middle of his center of gravity, but we can play with it, we can eyeball it, and it's fine. Okay, let's see what we've got now. I know that my run animation is a little bit slow, so there he's jumping and turning. Now we need to play with the timing, and we need to fix that run, make the run a wee bit, just a little bit hastier. So what I'm going to do with the run, with our time remap here, now the time remap has another useful purpose as well as looping our animation. What it does is it allows you to kind of squash and stretch it, kind of like it's made of elastic. So here with these two keyframes, we see the start and the end of the original. But what we can do on our little time remap here, if we just pull these a bit closer together, so at the minute it's about 24 frames, which is very slow. If I pull this down to about 15 frames, you're going to see this run animation now. The entire run animation will happen between those first couple of frames. Hang on, did something funny happen there? Oh, yes. Make sure I've only got one selected, not both. There we go. So again, pull you down to about 15 frame mark. And we'll play you once again. There we can see it runs a wee bit faster. And you're going over. So all of that was a lot of work for about 3 seconds of animation. So you can see it is actually quite a tedious process. Once you get it set up, it's not so bad, and then you add in the animations. Oh, hello. There's a little blank frame here. We'll fix that in a wee second. Once you get your animations all set up, and once you get the initial animation set up on the character controller, it really is just that fiddly process of fixing our opacities from 0 to 100, and it's always 0 to 100. It's never going to be a in between, and it's literally just a very long, complicated way of saying, okay, which one of these is active at any one time. There's only going to be one of them that is 100% at any one time. The rest of them are always going to be 0. That's pretty much the entire tutorial there. The last wee thing I'm going to show you is just another little After Effects glitch with the time remap. So you're going to see here. Where are we? If I can just zoom in and get that actual. He's just about here. Trying to locate that frame where it disappears. Where's it gone? Here we are, 26, 27. Do you know what? It's not a problem. All I have to do, we can see here, our jump and our run. We just need to line these two keyframes up actually. So just grab this one, bring it one frame back. There we go. Thought it was a more complicated problem than it was. It is not. So just make sure these are lined up. And you should notice this actually. On our whole keyframes, when one animation switches to 0% and the other one switches to 100%, they should vertically align with each other. So these two will vertically align with each other. These two will vertically align when one goes to 100 and the other goes 0. One goes to 100, the other goes 0. One goes to 100, the other goes 0. Okay, so let's get a little look through. What I'll do is I'll just bring down my work area so that we can loop over this a couple of times and see what's happening. And I will get a little bit of a zoom in here. Not too bad. Again, the timing is terrible. We could play with this for edges to get it set up nicely. But that is just a matter of tweaking. Once you get the basics down, it's just a matter of going in and tweaking the basics. I think that's looking not too bad. There was a lot of information in there, quite a bit of new stuff. Let's see, the video's running on a bit now. Jesus, 41 minutes. I thought this was going to be a 20-minute tutorial. So, okay, I'm going to leave it there. If you have any questions on that, please leave them in the comments below. Could probably delve a lot deeper into this. I wanted this to be a basic tutorial, but it's not really basic stuff. Now I'm thinking on it, and had to even pause and look up a few things there myself. But that is our little pixel dude, and he is running. So yeah, let's leave it there. Don't forget, save your project. Don't do what I did and get halfway through a video and then, why are you not saving? My computer is going like an absolute dog. It does not like, yeah, no, my computer is just going to live its own now. I'm no longer in control. I don't even know what's happening. Yeah, okay. I guess we're just watching this guy for a while. Isn't he cute? Look at him. Look at his wee arms. Look at his skinny wee arms. He's boxing glove hands. Oh, I think I'm going mad. Okay, I'm leaving now.